It was February 2008, in the municipal office of Lingyun City, Zhejiang Province. The air in the office was thick with gossip. People were whispering about Secretary General Yin Taijun being taken away by the Commission for Discipline Inspection the night before. Word was they found $500,000 in cash stuffed in his refrigerator. I sat at my desk, feeling the weight of their stares. The staff in the general section were huddled together, their eyes darting toward me. I heard a woman sneer, asking if I was finished. She called me Yin's man and said I deserved to fall with him. She hated how I, a mere group leader who wasn't even a deputy section chief yet, had supposedly bossed them around. Someone tried to shush them, reminding them I was still their boss, but the woman didn't care. She knew my days were numbered. I heard every word, every insult, but I didn't react. My mind was in a fog because I had just been reborn. I had traveled 15 years back in time. My hand gripped a torn cigarette pack, a string of phone numbers scrawled across the cardboard. My thoughts drifted back to the previous life. It had been a night of freezing wind and heavy snow. Yin Taijun had shown up at my rental apartment covered in blood. I was stunned. He dragged me inside, handed me this cigarette pack, and told me one thing. Call this number. Report the news. Then he vanished into the blizzard. Half an hour later, my colleague Li Chun called to tell me Yin had been taken away. That was when I realized how dangerous that phone number really was. Yin had always been kind to me. He was the one who recruited me after I placed first in the exams. He helped me get my permanent position and promoted me to group leader. I was his protege, and he had even planned to promote me to deputy section chief. But in my last life, I was terrified. I never made the call. Because of my cowardice, Yin was convicted in just 3 days and sentenced to 10 years. It was a setup, but no one cared. A week later, the new Secretary General, Tian Guanghan, kicked me out of the municipal office and sent me to a remote agricultural station in the mountains. I spent the rest of my life planting potatoes and trees. I died at 40, drowning while trying to save people during a flood. I thought the water had ended everything, but I woke up here, back in the afternoon after Yin's arrest. My eyes regained their focus. In my past life, I was a coward. This time, I wasn't going to let history repeat itself. A sharp rapping on my desk snapped me out of it. I looked up to see a middle-aged man in a black jacket glaring at me. It was Deputy Secretary General Tian Guanghan. I stood up immediately. He looked at me with pure contempt and told me that since I seemed so idle, I should deliver a stack of files to the materials section. He gestured to a young man behind him. Lin Yaodong walked forward with a smug grin and slammed a massive stack of documents onto my desk. It weighed at least 20 pounds. Lin told me, "Good luck," in a tone that dripped with malice. Seeing his face made my blood boil. Lin Yaodong was my rival in the general section. He had spent years trying to sabotage me, and just 2 weeks ago, he had stolen my girlfriend, Han-Wan. In my previous life, he was the one who whispered lies to Tian Guanghan to get me exiled to the mountains. He took the deputy section chief position that should have been mine. Tian Guanghan stared me down, asking why I was just standing there. I felt my face flush. I told him that delivering materials wasn't my job. He didn't blink. He told me that if I couldn't do it, I should get lost, because the office didn't keep useless people. He turned and walked away. Lin Yaodong gave me a fake, sympathetic pat on the files, telling me not to be stubborn, then followed Tian out. I clenched my fists, watching them leave. Tian was targeting me because he had lost the top job to Yin years ago. Now that Yin was down, he was cleaning house. And Lin was already playing the loyal dog. My friend Li Chun walked over and offered to carry the files for me. I pushed his hand away. I picked up the heavy stack myself and started walking. I wasn't surprised by the bullying, but I was angry. Behind me, the woman from earlier laughed again. She called me a dog and said I was finally getting what I deserved. Li Chun turned around and snapped at her to shut up, but I kept walking. I had a phone call to make. Is it really worth all this, Zhou Hui? Just because Section Chief Yang criticized you once. My friend Li Chun was trying to defend me, but Zhou Hui wouldn't have it. She sneered, her voice loud enough for the whole office to hear. Shut up, Li Chun. You're just a dog raised by Yang Dong. You shrew. Li Chun stammered, his face turning red. Say that one more time. The general section had turned into a noisy marketplace. I didn't stay to watch the drama. I took a deep breath, adjusted the heavy stack of files in my arms, and headed toward the materials department. Usually, the staff there would greet me with smiles and small talk. Today was different. As I walked in, they looked right through me. The silence was deafening. It was obvious. Word had spread. Taijun was finished, and as his protege, I was going down with him. "I'm leaving these here," I said, thumping the files onto the counter. Nobody looked up. Nobody said a word. I felt the sting of reality. In the world of politics, when your tree falls, the monkeys scatter. I didn't bother trying to win them over. I turned around and walked out. I didn't go back to my desk. Instead, I hurried out of the government building. The sun was setting, and the workday was officially over. I gripped a pack of cigarettes in my hand, my heart racing. I couldn't afford a single mistake. I rushed to a China Unicom store and bought a new SIM card. 2 minutes later, I swapped it into my phone and found a quiet corner behind the building. I took a deep breath, my fingers trembling slightly as I dialed a number I had memorized from my previous life. The phone rang a few times. My blood was pounding in my ears. Finally, someone picked up. "Hello? Who is this?" It was a woman's voice. She sounded young, maybe in her mid-20s, and her tone was incredibly cold. I hesitated. Was this really Secretary General Yin's trump card? Could a young woman like this actually save him? "Hello," she repeated. She sounded impatient. She probably only answered because it was a local Lingyun City number. When I didn't speak, she started to hang up. "Wait," I blurted out. "My name is Yang Dong. I work at the Lingyun Municipal Office. Secretary General Yin Taijun told me to call this number." There was a pause on the other end. I could practically feel her frowning through the line. "He told you to call? Why? What's going on?" Her voice was like ice. I decided to be cautious. I needed to know who I was dealing with before I spilled everything. "Can I trust you?" I asked. She seemed taken aback, then her tone shifted. "Did something happen to him?" She was sharp. I didn't know how to answer at first, but then she spoke again. "Yin Taijun used to be my father's secretary. You can trust me." I felt a wave of relief. She was the daughter of someone powerful. I didn't hold back anymore. Secretary General Yin is in trouble. He was reported for corruption by his housekeeper. The City Discipline Inspection Commission found 500,000 yuan in cash at his house. He's already been taken away for investigation. The woman, Su Muyun, didn't gasp or cry. She was sitting on a sofa in a white silk nightgown that made her look like an untouchable goddess. Her expression didn't change at all. "I see," she said flatly. Then, she hung up. "Damn it," I cursed, staring at my phone. Who does she think she is? Her attitude irritated me, but there was nothing I could do now. I had delivered the message. Now, I just had to wait. I headed toward a nearby noodle shop. I needed to eat. Meanwhile, inside a high-end villa belonging to the provincial party committee, Su Muyun stood up and knocked on a study door. "Come in," a deep, powerful voice answered. She walked in to find an elderly man sitting behind a desk. He wore a black sweater and thick glasses, looking more like an old scholar than a political titan. He was staring intensely at a small, black-and-white photo of a young woman holding a baby boy. "It's been 30 years, Su Muyun said, her voice cutting through his grief. "Are you still obsessed with that?" The old man's hand stiffened, but he didn't look up. "Yin Taijun is in trouble," she continued. "He was framed for corruption in Lingyun City. They found cash in his home. He's been detained." The room fell into a heavy silence for 5 minutes. Finally, the old man sighed, carefully tucked the photo into a locked drawer, and wiped his eyes. "Where did you get this news?" "A man named Yang Dong. He says he's from the Lingyun Municipal Office." The old man's eyebrows shot up. To push Taijun to the point where he has to use a low-level staffer to send a message, things must be desperate. It's just a race for deputy mayor, yet they're using the Discipline Inspection Commission as a weapon. It seems Lingyun needs a new commission secretary soon. He went back to his work, signaling the conversation was over. But as Su Muyun reached the door, his voice trailed after her. "Muyun, your brother has been missing for 26 years. Do you think I'll ever see him again?" Su Muyun stiffened. Anger flashed in her eyes. "You still dare to mention that woman's child?" She took a breath, regaining her icy composure. "Maybe," she said, before slamming the door. Back at the noodle shop, I finished my bowl and waited. Half an hour passed. No call back. I realized then that she wasn't going to call me. I sighed. I had done my part. The rest was up to fate. I just hoped Yin Taijun would be okay. Otherwise, people like Lin Yaodong would bury me alive. Well, if it isn't Section Chief Yang, finished delivering your papers. I froze. Sometimes, the person you hate most appears exactly when you don't want to see them. I didn't need to turn around to recognize that nasally, annoying voice. It was Lin Yaodong. I turned slowly, and my heart sank. Standing next to him was a woman in a pink coat and black jeans. It was Han1. Memories flooded back. We had been together since college. 5 years of my life. I had wanted to marry her, but her parents, an elite high school principal and a head doctor, hated that I was just a kid from the countryside with no connections. When my career stalled, they pushed her toward Lin Yaodong. It had only been 2 weeks since we broke up. Seeing her clutching Lin's arm made my stomach churn. She looked beautiful, her makeup perfect, but she wouldn't meet my eyes. I frowned. This didn't happen in my past life. Had my phone call already started changing the timeline? The butterfly effect was real. My phone call had already started changing things. Yang Dong, you're off work? Hanwen asked. Her voice was shaky, and she looked incredibly uncomfortable. We had only been broken up for 2 weeks. I knew her well enough to see the conflict in her eyes. A few days ago, rumors were swirling that I was up for a promotion, and I knew she had started to regret leaving me. But today, Lin Yaodong must have told her his version of the truth, that I was finished because my mentor, Yin Taijun, was going down. That news had clearly wiped away her regret. She looked relieved now, ready to commit to Lin Yaodong without looking back. It looks like you're really enjoying yourself, I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. I stared pointedly at her hand, which was wrapped tightly around Lin Yaodong's arm. Hanwen's face turned pale. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Lin Yaodong, however, was beaming. Section Chief Yang. I heard Secretary General Yin is under investigation. It's true what they say, you never really know a person's heart. Everyone thought he was so clean, but 500,000? That's a massive bribe. It's people like him who ruin the reputation of us hardworking cadres. My face darkened. I remembered this look from my past life. Back then, Lin Yaodong had been the first to kick a man while he was down, spreading lies about Yin Taijun to the new leadership. He conveniently forgot how much time he'd spent kissing Yin's boots just months prior. He was a political weathercock, a spineless coward, and a disgrace to the municipal office. Lin Yaodong, nothing has been decided yet. I snapped, my eyes cold. Keep your mouth shut until the facts are out. Oh, the big fish is stranded and gasping for air, and you're still acting tough? Lin sneered. He wasn't afraid of me. He wouldn't have stolen my woman if he were. He felt untouchable because of his father, the head of the 1st Cadre Division of the organization department. He was a true princeling of the local bureaucracy. Enough, both of you, Hanwen interrupted, stepping between us. This arguing is pointless. Yaodong, and I are getting engaged. We invited our colleagues from the office and the hospital to a KTV tonight to celebrate. You should come too. I saw right through her. She wanted my blessing to ease her guilt, but more than that, she wanted to crush my spirit. She wanted me to watch her choose him so I would finally give up on her. Is that so? I smiled, not hesitating for a second. A big celebration like that? I'll be there. Lin Yaodong's smirk faltered. He looked at me with sudden suspicion. Any normal man would have walked away to save face, but I had agreed with a smile. He probably thought I was planning to cause a scene or ruin his night. Where is it? I asked Hanwen. I'll take a taxi. It's at Xiangyang KTV, room 101, she said quickly. She pointed to a sleek Audi A6 parked nearby. We have the car, we can. No need. I cut her off. I flagged down a passing taxi and left them standing there. In the car, Lin Yaodong turned to Hanwen, his eyes narrowed. Why did you invite him? He's going to cause trouble. You said it yourself, he's a grasshopper in autumn. He won't be jumping for much longer, Hanwen said, leaning into him affectionately. Lin felt his confidence return. She was right. Once Yin Taijun fell, I was nothing. He had inside information that Yin wouldn't survive this, and he had already switched sides to join the rival faction under Deputy Secretary General Tian Guanghan. He just had to wait for the dust to settle and watch me burn. Xiangyang KTV was one of the most expensive spots in Lingyun City. When I arrived, The neon lights were blinding, and the music from the lobby hit me like a physical wave of heat. A waiter led me down a long hallway past room 109 all the way to the end. Room 101 was the VIP suite. Before I could reach the door, a sharp, mocking laugh came from behind me. Well, if it isn't Section Chief Yang. I turned to see a group of colleagues from the municipal office. The speaker was Zhou Hui, a woman in my department. I was technically her boss, but she hated me because I had criticized her poor writing in the past. Even though I had apologized and kept things professional, she never let it go. "Yang Dong, you're here?" Another colleague asked. "Hey, Yang Dong," a third added. The change in tone was instant. Yesterday, they were calling me Section Chief, with flattering smiles. Today, they used my name like I was a commoner on the street. They knew Yin Taijun was in trouble, and in politics, people are more ruthless than sharks. I didn't bother responding. I turned and walked into the room. "Look at him, still acting like he's someone important," Zhou Hui hissed behind my back. "Let's see how long he lasts." The room was packed. Half were from the municipal office. The other half were Han Wen's friends from the hospital. When I walked in, the room went silent. The music seemed to die down as everyone stared. They couldn't believe I had the nerve to show up at my ex-girlfriend's engagement party to the man who stole her. Lin Yaodong was sitting in the center of the large sofa, his arm around Han Wen. When he saw me, he stood up with a fake, boisterous laugh. "Old Yang, you made it." He waved to the others. "Zhou Hui, Zhou Chun, come in. Sit down. Everything is on me tonight, so don't be shy." He was playing the perfect, generous host. The tension broke, and people went back to singing and gossiping. I sat in a corner, and as I expected, nobody came near me. They treated me like I had a contagious disease. I opened a beer and took a slow sip. I hadn't come here to start a fight. I had come to witness the end of an era. Tonight was about watching these two and finally cutting the ties to my past. I was just waiting for the clock to run out. It was just a woman. My perspective wasn't that small anymore. As I sat in the corner, my gaze drifted across the room and landed on a girl sitting on the opposite sofa. Her name was Guan Jiujiu. She was quiet, sitting there without saying a word, only offering a polite smile whenever someone spoke to her. I wasn't surprised to see her. She was a nurse at the municipal hospital and a close colleague of Han Wen. It made sense that she was here. "Yang Dong." A voice snapped me out of my thoughts. I looked up to see Han Wen standing in front of me. She held a wine glass, a faint smile playing on her lips. I stared at her, confused. Why wasn't she with her new fiancé? What did she want with me? "I'd like to propose a toast to you," she said, lifting her glass and taking a small sip. I didn't say a word. I just picked up my beer bottle and took a swig. Han Wen didn't leave. Instead, she reached into her pocket and pulled out an elegant red gift box, placing it firmly on the table between us. "Yaodong bought this diamond ring for me," she said. "It cost 30,000 yuan. I frowned. Why was she telling me this? "Yang Dong, I remember your monthly salary is only 2,000, right?" she continued. She didn't seem to care about the look on my face. "Yes," I replied flatly. She knew exactly how much I made. Back when we were together, I sent money home to my parents and gave almost everything else to her. She had spent years complaining that I didn't earn enough, even though my position at the municipal office looked prestigious on the outside. By now, the music had dimmed, and people were turning their heads to listen to our conversation. "At 2,000 a month, this ring costs a year and a half of your total salary," Han Wen said, her voice rising so everyone could hear. "If you factor in your living expenses and the money you send home, you probably couldn't save enough to buy this in 3 years. I stared at her, my patience wearing thin. "What's your point? Just say it." Han Wen smiled, glancing around at the crowd before looking me in the eye. "I want you to stop having any illusions about us. Yaodong and I are engaged tonight. We'll be married by the end of the year. I just want your blessing, okay?" There it was. The real reason she invited me here. She wanted to humiliate me one last time to ensure I stayed out of her new life. "Yang Dong, did you hear Sister Han Wen?" Zhou Hui chimed in from the side, her face twisted in a sneer. "Stop acting like a toad lusting after swan meat. Have some dignity." "Zhou Hui, that's not fair," another colleague laughed. "How can you call him a toad? He's our section chief. He's about to be promoted to deputy director, right, Yang Dong?" Deputy Director my ass, someone else shouted. In Taijun is being investigated for corruption. The Commission for Discipline Inspection has already moved in. There is no promotion. Oh, so our great section chief is finished. The room erupted in laughter. My colleagues from the municipal office were the loudest. They used to envy me because I was In Tiejuan's right-hand man. Now that my protector was falling, they couldn't wait to stomp me into the dirt. They weren't my friends. They were Lin Yaodong's sycophants. They knew Lin Yaodong's father was the head of the first cadre section of the organization department and was about to be promoted to deputy head. In our world, the organization department held the keys to everyone's career. Why bother with a sinking ship like me when they could suck up to a rising star like Lin? My face felt hot. I knew coming here would be unpleasant, but I hadn't expected them to be this heartless. Didn't these people have any professional ethics left? All right, Lin Yaodong said, waving a hand with a fake air of magnanimity. He stood up, glass in hand. We're all colleagues. Don't go too far. The crowd settled down, giving him the respect he demanded. I clenched my fists, staring at the floor. I looked toward the opposite sofa again, but the quiet girl, Guan Jujio, was gone. She must have stepped out. Suddenly, the heavy door to the KTV room burst open. A girl ran in, her face pale with panic. Sister Hanwon. Something happened, she shouted. Guan Jujio is being harassed by some old guy outside the restrooms. The room went silent for a heartbeat before the hospital staff jumped to their feet. Hanwen's expression shifted. Jujio was her best friend. If something happened to her here, it would be a disaster. Yaodong, she cried, grabbing his arm. Don't worry, let's go see, Lin Yaodong said confidently. He wasn't worried. Given his father's status, who would dare cause trouble for him? He took Hanwen's hand and led the group out of the room. I followed at the back. Downstairs, near the first-floor restrooms, the scene was ugly. Come on, little sister. Just a few drinks with me, a middle-aged man growled. He had a firm grip on Guan Jujio's wrist. She was struggling, her face full of terror, but she couldn't break free. The man was dressed in an expensive suit and wore a heavy gold watch, but he was clearly wasted. He reeked of alcohol, and his eyes were glazed with a predatory look. People were watching, but no one moved to help. The KTV waiters looked toward their boss, but the owner shook his head. Don't touch him, the boss whispered. That's President Wu from Jinkai Real Estate. We can't afford to offend him. Let me go, please, Guan Jujio cried out. Her wrist was already turning bright red from his grip. Playing hard to get. Wu Jinkai snarled. You're dressed this sexy, and you're pretending to be pure? You're just a hostess. Get in the room. He began dragging her toward private room 103. Let her go, Lin Yaodong shouted as our group arrived. He looked furious. This was his engagement night. Having a guest harassed right outside his door was a direct slap to his face. Hanwen looked at Lin Yaodong with admiration. This was the man she chose, a man who stepped up when it mattered. Sister One, save me, Jujio sobbed when she saw us. Don't worry, Jujio, Hanwen called out. Your brother-in-law will protect you. Jujio winced slightly at the term brother-in-law. She had never liked Lin Yaodong. To her, a man who stole another man's girlfriend wasn't someone to be respected. Who the hell are you? Wu Jinkai spun around, glaring at Lin Yaodong with bloodshot eyes. Has your hair even grown in yet? You think you're a hero? Lin Yaodong opened his mouth to snap back, but then his eyes widened. He recognized the man. He suddenly realized he had charged in without knowing who he was facing. Now, with everyone watching and expecting him to be the hero, he was trapped. Oh, President Wu, Lin Yaodong stammered, his voice losing all its fire. A faint smirk played on Lin Yaodong's lips as he stepped forward. He thought he had this under control. Oomph. Good to see you recognize me, Wu Jinkai said, his expression cold and arrogant. In this era, men in the construction and building materials industry weren't soft. They were rough men who had fought their way up from nothing. President Wu, Lin Yaodong said, forcing a smile. Give me a bit of face here. This girl is my girlfriend's colleague. Wu Jinkai paused. He turned his head and squinted at Guan Jujio. His heart sank slightly. She wasn't a hostess. He realized he'd grabbed the wrong person in his drunken haze. But he couldn't back down now. A man of his stature couldn't let a kid intimidate him. Give you face, Wu Jinkai snarled, doubling down on his mistake. Who the hell do you think you are? I saw Lin Yaodong's face turn bright red. Being cursed out in front of all his colleagues was a massive blow to his ego. I'm Lin Yaodong, from the general section of the municipal government office, he stammered. Wu Jinkai looked him up and down, then shook his head. Never heard of you. My father is Lin Liangming. He's the section chief of the 1st Cadre section of the Municipal Party Committee's organization department. Lin Yaodong knew his own title meant nothing to a man with tens of millions in assets, so he threw out his father's name. Wu Jinkai blinked. The name Lin Liangming rang a bell. So this was Lin's son. Usually, he'd give a section chief some face, but not tonight. Your father isn't qualified enough either, Wu Jinkai sneered. Lin Yaodong froze. His scalp went numb. His biggest trump card had just been swatted away like a fly. He had completely lost control of the situation. Seeing Lin Yaodong silenced, Wu Jinkai grabbed Guan Jiujiu and dragged her to the door of room 103. He kicked the door open and shouted, "Gentlemen, please come out for a moment." A group of middle-aged men walked out. They all had the distinct, heavy air of authority that came with high-ranking positions. Lin Yaodong's eyes nearly popped out of his head. "Director Ma?" he gasped. It was the director of the Investment Promotion Bureau. Deputy Director Chen? The man in civilian clothes was a high-ranking official from the Public Security Bureau. Then, the third man stepped out. Lin Yaodong looked like he'd seen a ghost. Secretary General Tian. It was his own direct boss from the Municipal Government Office, Tian Guanghan. Beside him stood Deputy Secretary General Tang from the Municipal Party Committee. Even Hanwen recognized them and whispered their titles in shock. "Yaodong, weren't you celebrating your engagement?" Tian Guanghan, a balding man in his 50s, looked at him with confusion. Lin Yaodong had reported his absence to him personally before leaving work. "Secretary General Tian, this kid tried to play hero and just insulted me," Wu Jinkai said, his voice dripping with malice. Tian Guanghan's face darkened instantly. He turned on Lin Yaodong, hissing, "Get back in your room. Don't embarrass yourself here. We are discussing business with President Wu." He shot Lin Yaodong a sharp look, warning him not to ruin a major investment deal. Cold sweat poured down Lin Yaodong's back. He realized his father was a small fish compared to the men in this hallway. He looked at the floor, ready to tuck his tail and run back to room 101. "Sister One." Guan Jiujiu's voice was trembling with desperation. She looked at Hanwen, hoping for a miracle, but Hanwen looked away. Against these leaders, she was powerless. "Fine, I'll give your father some face," Wu Jinkai said, sensing the tension. "This girl is pretty. Let her have a few drinks with us, and then I'll let her go. How about that?" Lin Yaodong's face lit up with relief. "Yes, of course. That's perfect." "No, I won't do it. I'm not drinking with you," Guan Jiujiu screamed, her eyes flashing with fury at Lin Yaodong for selling her out. Lin Yaodong just sighed and turned to Hanwen. "Wenwen, your colleague is being difficult." "I tried." "Jiujiu, stop making a scene," Hanwen said, winking at her. "Just a few drinks with the leaders and President Wu, and it'll all be over." Guan Jiujiu looked at Hanwen with utter heartbreak. This was the woman she considered a sister, a best friend. Now, she realized who these people really were. The men from the office were all following Lin Yaodong's lead, and the nurses from the hospital were too terrified to speak. She was completely alone. Her eyes welled up with tears. She had never been treated like this in her life. "Young lady, just a few drinks. It's no big deal," Tian Guanghan said with a fake, friendly smile before turning back into the room. The leaders didn't care. They weren't going to offend a major investor over one girl. Wu Jinkai smirked and started pulling her inside. "Stop." A calm, steady voice cut through the hallway. It wasn't loud, but it carried a weight that made everyone freeze. We all turned toward the source. I stepped forward slowly from the back of the crowd. "Yaodong, what do you think you're doing?" Wu Hui shouted, pointing a finger at me. "Do you want to embarrass the entire general section? Can't you see the leaders are here?" She made sure to announce my lowly status to everyone present. "Oh, he's from the municipal office?" Deputy Secretary General Tang asked, looking at Tian Guanghan. "Yes, he's Yaodong from the general section," Tian Guanghan replied, his face grim. Secretary General Yin Taijun brought him in personally after the exams. Tang's eyes narrowed at the mention of Yin Taijun, and he let out a complicated hum. Wu Jiankai glared at me. You want to be a hero too? Who's your father? Another official? My father is a farmer, I said plainly. He works the land in the countryside. Wu Jiankai burst out laughing. A farmer's son? And you dare to stop me? He was sober enough to be angry now. His pride had been challenged too many times tonight. President Wu, a man of your status bullying a young girl. It doesn't look good, I said, my voice unwavering as I looked at him and the officials. And with all these leaders present, the optics are terrible. If word got out, what would the public say about our officials? The atmosphere shifted instantly. The leaders' expressions hardened. I had just issued a blatant threat. It wouldn't ruin them, but it would be a massive headache they didn't want. The young man has a point, Director Ma said, breaking the silence. Old Wu, don't get worked up over a kid. Let's just go back and finish our drinks. Deputy Secretary General Tang smiled and spoke up, his voice light, but his words final. He had just set the tone for how this would end. Wu Jiankai was clearly seething, but he wasn't stupid enough to defy a high-ranking official. He forced a smile and nodded. He told the leaders he would follow their instructions. Then he let go of Guan Jojo's wrist. He turned to me and flashed a thumbs up, but his eyes weren't friendly. He told me I had guts. I didn't care about his hidden threats. I stepped forward, grabbed Guan Jojo, and pulled her toward me. Wu Jiankai headed back toward his private room, but as he walked, I saw him shoot a sharp look at his secretary. The secretary understood immediately and slipped out of the building. I looked at Guan Jojo. Her eyes were red, and she was rubbing her wrist. There were deep, angry red marks on her pale skin where he had gripped her. I asked if she was okay. She shook her head and thanked me. She knew who I was because I used to date Han Wan, but we had never really talked before. I could see the realization in her eyes. On a night when everyone else acted like a coward, I was the only one who stood up for her. Lin Yaodong walked past me with a cold sneer. He mocked me, calling me a hero saving the beauty. He didn't stay to chat. He grabbed Han Wan and headed back to their engagement party in the other room. Han Wan didn't even look at me. She just told Guan Jojo to go home. She was clearly annoyed that her big night had been ruined by this drama. I realized then that she didn't care about her friend's safety. She only cared about her own reputation. Guan Jojo nodded to Han Wan, but I could tell the friendship was over. One moment like this is all it takes to see someone's true heart. I asked Guan Jojo if she needed to go to the hospital. She actually let out a small laugh and reminded me she was a nurse. We walked out of the KTV together under the judging stares of our colleagues. Not a single person offered to help or even asked if we were all right. As we walked down the dark street, Guan Jojo asked if I was scared. She knew I had just offended several powerful leaders and a wealthy businessman. I told her the truth. Of course I was scared. But I couldn't just stand by and watch a girl get bullied. It wasn't in my nature. Last year, I lost a promotion because I fought a city official who was harassing an old fruit farmer. Secretary General Yin Taijun had been trying to help me move up again, but then he got investigated, and my career stalled. I seemed to have a habit of choosing what was right over what was smart. Guan Jojo was about to say something when she suddenly gasped in terror. A van pulled up beside us and 7 or 8 burly men jumped out. They were carrying clubs and batons. They didn't say a word. They just charged. I reacted instantly. I pulled Guan Jojo into my arms to shield her. There was no time to run. The first blow landed, and then they were all over us. I felt my bones breaking. The pain in my back was so intense I couldn't stand straight, but I refused to let go of her. I took every hit. After a minute of being a human punching bag, a club slammed into the back of my head. My vision went blurry. I saw them scramble back into the van and speed off in a cloud of black smoke. I managed to memorize the license plate before everything went black. I woke up in a hospital bed with my head wrapped in bandages. My shoulders felt like they were on fire. Every nerve in my body screamed in pain. I heard voices nearby. Guan Jojo was crying to her mother, Sun Xiofan. She was telling her how I protected her at the KTV and during the attack. She sounded fed up with the corruption and the violence in Lingyun City. She even mentioned wanting to move back to the provincial capital. I groaned as I tried to move. Guan Jojo rushed to my side, her face full of concern. She told me I was in the hospital and that I had a mild concussion, but I was going to be okay. I immediately asked if she was hurt. She told me she was fine because I had covered her with my own body. She looked guilty, but mostly she looked grateful. I had saved her twice in one night, once from a predator and once from a mob. I tried to sit up, but a woman stepped forward and gently pressed me back down. It was Guan Jojo's mother, Sun Xiofan. She was in her 40s, but looked much younger, carrying herself with an air of quiet authority and elegance. She thanked me for saving her daughter and told me not to worry about the medical bills. I tried to show respect by sitting up, but she insisted I stay still. The doctor's orders were clear. I needed total rest. Sun Xiofan seemed satisfied with me. She could tell I was a polite young man who didn't plan on using my heroics to demand favors. She told me I needed to stay in the hospital for quiet recuperation, but my heart sank. I can't, I said, panic rising in my chest. I have to get to work. I looked out the window. It was already high noon. My stomach dropped. I turned to Guan Jojo, my voice trembling with urgency. Jojo, what time is it exactly? You've been unconscious all night, she said softly. It's already noon the next day. I felt a cold sweat break out. This was bad. I hadn't called in, and I was already half a day late. In a place like the municipal office, especially in the General Affairs Department, the workload was relentless. Given how I'd offended so many leaders the night before, I knew they were just waiting for a reason to skin me alive. Until Secretary General In Taijun was cleared, I had to be perfect. I couldn't give them a single excuse to fire me. Hey, what are you doing? Guan Jojo cried out. I ignored the pain and forced myself upright like a stubborn mule. I swung my legs over the side of the bed, determined to stand. Sun Xiofan looked shocked. She had clearly never seen a man with such severe injuries insist on going to the office. Xiaoyang, there's no rush, she said, trying to help her daughter push me back down. Rest for a day or two first. I gave her a bitter smile. Auntie, I work in the General Affairs Department. There's too much to do. If I'm not there, everything stalls. I have to go. Oh, you're a civil servant. Sun Xiufan's eyebrows shot up. She looked surprised. Guan Jojo hadn't mentioned my job to her yet. He works in the municipal office, Jojo explained quickly, her voice laced with worry. But Mom, things haven't been easy for him lately. He's in a tough spot. I really can't stay, I grunted. I didn't have another second to waste. I reached down and ripped the 4 needle out of my hand. I pressed down on the bleeding puncture site and started limping toward the door. Yangdong, wait. Guan Jojo started to chase after me, but her mother grabbed her arm. Let him go, Jojo, Sun Xiofan said, watching my retreating back. She looked impressed. She hadn't met many young men with that kind of grit. Once I was gone, she turned to her daughter. Tell me more about this Yangdong. Why is his life so difficult? Guan Jojo sighed and spilled everything. She told her mother about my breakup, how Hanwen had cheated on me. She explained that my mentor, In Taijun, had been taken by the disciplinary committee, leaving me branded as a political target. And last night, Jojo continued, her voice shaking. To save me, he offended Deputy Secretary General Tang, Director Ma, Deputy Secretary General Tian, and Deputy Director Chun of the Police Bureau. Plus, he crossed Wu Jiankai. Those thugs last night. Wu Jiankai definitely sent them. Sun Xiofan stood there, stunned. She realized she had vastly underestimated the price I had paid to protect her daughter. Was I stupid? Why would a low-level clerk risk his entire career and his life for a stranger? Was it a calculated move? Did I know who her husband was? She dismissed the thought quickly. Her husband's new appointment was a sudden move. Even she had only found out yesterday. There was no way a kid like me could have known. Mom, Jojo said, looking down at her feet. If he loses his job, it's because of me. Sun Xiofan smiled gently and patted her daughter's hand. Don't worry. If the municipal office kicks him out, the municipal propaganda department will take him. He's honest, brave, and doesn't fear power. He's a good kid. Guan Jojo's eyes crinkled into crescents as she smiled. That was exactly what she wanted to hear. Her mother was the executive deputy director of the propaganda department. She had the power to make it happen. Meanwhile, I was in agony. I hopped out of a taxi and ran toward the municipal office building as fast as my battered legs would carry me. Every step sent a jolt of fire through my back, but I didn't stop until I reached the General Affairs Department floor. I stood at the entrance, gasping for air, and finally stepped inside. It was 11 a.m. Most of my colleagues were at the cafeteria. A few were still at their desks, typing away or scrolling through their phones. Li Chun, my only real friend in the office, looked up from his work. His eyes widened when he saw me limping in, pale and bandaged. Leader Yang. He rushed over to help me, but his movement caught the attention of everyone else. Gu Chun, a sycophant who lived to suck up to Lin Yaodong, looked up with a cold sneer. Well, if it isn't our hero, Yang Dong, Gu Chun mocked. Didn't spend the night in a beauty's arms, did you? He was still bitter about the night before. My intervention had ruined Lin Yaodong's engagement party and made Lin look like a coward. Since then, Lin had been in a foul mood, even fighting with Han Wen. Gu Chun knew my downfall was coming, so he wasn't afraid to twist the knife. Gu Chun, shut your mouth, Li Chun snapped. Make me, Li Chun. You think you're special? Gu Chun barked back. Enough, I warned. The sound made my head throb, but it silenced the room. I glared at Gu Chun until he flinched. This is a government office, not a wet market. Gu Chun recovered quickly, his face twisting in anger. You talk about rules. You skipped the whole morning without a word. Did you even ask for leave? Is this how a group leader sets an example? He slammed his hand on the desk, the noise echoing down the hall. What's all the noise about? A cold voice asked. Lin Yaodong walked in, looking sharp in his white shirt and black trousers. He didn't even look at me. Brother Lin, Yang Dong is late. Gu Chun reported immediately, like a loyal dog. I know, Lin Yaodong said curtly. He finally turned his gaze toward me, his eyes full of hidden malice. Yang Dong, Secretary General Tian wants to see you. Follow me. He turned on his heel and walked out without waiting. Leader, be careful, Li Chun whispered, his eyes full of genuine fear for me. I nodded grimly, saying don't worry. I patted Li Chun on the shoulder and gave him a small smile. This guy was a true brother. In my past life, after I fell from grace, he was the only one who didn't kick me while I was down. He never betrayed me, but his loyalty cost him. After I was kicked out, Tian Guanghan found a pathetic excuse to exile Li Chun to the retired personnel department. In the Lingyun municipal office, that department was a graveyard for careers. The name alone told you everything you needed to know. I turned and followed Lin Yaodong toward Deputy Secretary General Tian Guanghan's office. We walked in silence, maintaining a distance of about 2 meters. Playing the hero and saving the beauty felt pretty good yesterday, didn't it? Lin Yaodong whispered ahead of me, his voice dripping with mockery. I didn't give him the satisfaction of a response. I just kept walking. You ruined my engagement night, he hissed, his voice low and dangerous. I'll settle this debt with you sooner or later. Group Leader Yang, you can go in now. We reached the door, and his face transformed instantly. 1 second he was threatening me, and the next he was wearing a mask of professional courtesy. As I reached out to knock, Lin Yaodong suddenly shoved me from behind and pushed the door open. I stumbled into the office, my footsteps loud and clumsy on the floor. Yang Dong, don't you know the rules? Tian Guanghan roared, slamming his hand on his desk. He glared at me, his face dark with rage. He hadn't seen the shove. He only saw me rushing in like a madman. Between the incident at the KTV last night and my entrance now, he was clearly at his breaking point. Get out, knock, and then come back in. He pointed at the door, his finger trembling with anger. My blood boiled. Lin Yaodong was a snake, but complaining to Tian Guanghan would be useless. It would make me look childish, and I knew Tian wouldn't give me justice anyway. I turned around and walked out. Lin Yaodong had already vanished. I stood in the hallway and took a breath. Knock, knock, knock. I hit the wood once, waited 2 seconds, and then hit it twice more. There's an art to knocking in this world. You don't just bang on the door like a debt collector unless someone died or the building is on fire. Silence followed. I waited, then knocked again, and again. I gripped my fists, trying to control the urge to kick the door off its hinges and drag Tian Guanghan out for a beating. But I couldn't. That would be political suicide. Come in. A voice finally grunted after 3 long minutes. I was fuming. If he had waited 1 more minute, I would have walked away and quit on the spot. With my knowledge of the next decade of history, I could make a fortune in business. I didn't need to play grandson to these people. I took a deep breath, pushed the door open, and walked in slowly. Yang Dong, why were you absent this morning? Tian Guanghan started, not even looking up. Your reckless behavior yesterday almost caused a major loss for the investment bureau. Director Ma is furious. Mr. Wu from Jinkai Industries is even more insulted. If we hadn't stepped in to smooth things over, a 30 million yuan investment project would have died. You would have been a criminal in the eyes of Lingyun's economic development. You'd be responsible to all 3 million citizens of this city. I almost wanted to laugh. Only a leader could twist the truth like this. Wu Jinkai was the one acting like a drunken animal, yet in Tian's mouth, I was the villain. Therefore, Tian continued, sitting back and taking a slow sip of goji berry tea from his thermos. The organization has decided to suspend you. You are to go home and reflect on your mistakes. When you truly recognize what you've done wrong, I'll consider letting you return. He set the thermos down, a clear signal for me to get out. I looked him straight in the eye, my gaze cold. Deputy Secretary General Tian, which organization decided on my suspension? Is that any of your business? Tian slammed the thermos back onto the desk. Get out. Reflect. I turned and walked away. There was no point in arguing. This was a targeted hit. If I stayed and begged, it would change nothing. Suspension was just the first step. Once Tian became the Secretary General, he'd turn this suspension into a transfer order and kick me to some remote corner of the province, just like in my last life. As I walked out, I saw the vultures gathered near the comprehensive section. Zhou Hui and Gu Chun were leading the pack, their faces filled with predatory glee. Oh, Group Leader Yang, what did Secretary General Tian say? Zhou Hui asked, covering her mouth to hide a smirk. Yeah, tell us the news. Gu Chun added, grinning ear to ear. I didn't say a word. Arguing with them would only lower me to their level. Leader, Li Chen squeezed through the crowd, his eyes full of worry. I walked over and patted his shoulder. Li Chen, work hard here. At least I had one real friend. Most of the people in this office were here because of money or connections. Lin Yaodong's father was a department head in the organization department. Zhou Hui and Gu Chun had backdoors too. They didn't care about career growth. They just wanted stability and power. I was different. I was a farmer's son. My parents were back home, working the soil to put my younger brother through high school and my sister through middle school. I sent a portion of my salary home every month and lived off scraps. Well, now that Hanwen was gone, I could finally afford a decent meal for myself. I gave Li Chun a final nod, turned my back on the office, and walked out of the government building. I was gone. Zhou Hui watched me leave like a stray dog kicking rocks. She didn't even care that we were in the middle of the comprehensive section office. She just burst out laughing. She was probably already thinking about how happy Lin Yaodong would be now that I was gone. Gu Chun was grinning too. Everyone knew that with me out of the picture, Lin Yaodong was the new star of the department. There were rumors that Deputy Secretary General Tian Guanghan was moving up to the top spot. If he became the Secretary General, Lin Yaodong would be his golden boy. A promotion to Deputy Section Chief was practically guaranteed. The gossip didn't stop there. The mayor's secretary had just been sent down to the county level for experience, which meant a new spot was open. If Lin Yaodong secured that promotion, he could become the mayor's right-hand man. Within 2 years, he'd be a powerful official. Stop talking about Yang Dong, Zhou Hui said, finally catching her breath. He's a thing of the past. Boring. A few people rolled their eyes at her. She was a loudmouth, and nobody wanted to pick a fight with a shrew like that. But the office quickly moved on to the next big scoop. Did you hear? The new secretary of the disciplinary committee finally arrived. Really? The seat's been empty for half a month. Who is it? I heard it's a man. Duh. Tell us something we don't know. As they chirped away like birds, Li Chen sat back down at his desk, looking miserable. With me gone, he knew he was the next target for their bullying. He looked at those elite colleagues of ours and felt a wave of disgust. They were just low-level clerks, yet they talked about the city's top leadership as if they were peers. I walked out of the government gates and stopped to look back at the old 8-story building. The national flag was snapping in the wind, and the emblem on the roof gleamed in the sun. I had worked here for 4 years. I probably wouldn't be coming back. But I wasn't going to be like my past self. I wasn't going to get kicked to some rural office to die in a flood relief effort. I had 20 years of future knowledge in my head. It was 2008. If the political path was blocked, I'd take the business route. The private sector was about to explode. The internet was taking over. If I played my cards right for the next 20 years, I could be worth billions. I'd never have to worry about money again. It took me 10 minutes to walk back to my rental. It was a tiny 40-square-meter apartment, one bedroom, one kitchen, and a shared bathroom at the end of the hall. In this part of the country, even near the government buildings, the rent was only 300 yuan a month. I pulled a bank card out of my drawer. It had 30,000 yuan on it. That was every cent I had saved from college scholarships and my years of grueling work. I had originally saved it to buy gold jewelry for Han for our wedding. Now it was my seed money. I grabbed the card and hailed a taxi to the bank. 30,000 wasn't much, but I knew how to make it grow. Real estate was booming, but I didn't have the capital for that yet. I needed something fast. Then, I remembered a specific stock, Xingxing Lake. In the world of finance, it was a monster stock. Right now, it was trading at 4 yuan a share. By March 10th, it would skyrocket to over 35. By mid-April, it would hit an all-time high of over 100 yuan. It wouldn't stay there forever, but as a short-term play, it was a gold mine. I could see a 20-fold return. Today was February 26th. The timing was perfect. I needed more than 30,000, though. I decided I'd call my parents and borrow whatever they had. If I could get 50,000 in, I'd come out with over 1 million. With 1 million yuan in 2008, the world would be my oyster. I wasn't like those main characters in novels who win the lottery by luck. I didn't remember lottery numbers. But I remembered this stock because Secretary General In Taijun had mentioned it to me once. He loved the stock market and had even cleared his trades with the provincial authorities. That was how I knew the bribery charges against him were fake. The man made so much money trading stocks that he had no reason to risk his career for a measly 50,000 yuan bribe. I pulled out my phone and dialed Chu Li. He was an old college roommate who now worked at the Shenzhen Stock Exchange. He could help me navigate the trade without the usual red tape. Yang Dong. Chu Li's voice came through, sounding as annoying as ever. It's been a while. What can the great Secretary Yang do for me today? Old Chu, I said, cutting straight to the chase. I want to buy some stock. There was a long silence on the other end. He was clearly stunned. While I was talking to Chu Li, a very different scene was unfolding at the city committee gates. The top leadership of Lingyun City was lined up in a row. Secretary Wu Xingkai stood in the center, flanked by Mayor Ho Yong and Deputy Secretary Wei Liming. They're here, Wu Xingkai whispered, his face tensing up. A black coaster van pulled up to the entrance. Wu Xingkai forced a smile and led the group forward as the door slid open. The new power in the city had arrived. The first man to step out of the van was around 50 years old, wearing a simple black cotton jacket. Welcome, Secretary Ma. Thank you for coming to guide our work, Wu Xingkai said, stepping forward with an enthusiastic smile and an outstretched hand. Ma Shuli laughed as he shook hands. Secretary Wu, I'm not here to guide you. I'm here to deliver an elite soldier to the Lingyun Municipal Committee. He turned back toward the van and smiled. Comrade Mushin, come on down. A man in his 40s stepped out. He had a righteous, stern face and a sharp buzz cut that made him look incredibly capable. He wore a black jacket that radiated authority. This was Guan Mushin. He scanned the gathered leadership of Lingyun City for a split second before a small smile touched his lips. Secretary Wu, I'm reporting for duty, Guan Mushin said, walking straight to Wu Xingkai and offering his hand. Comrade Mushin, we've been looking forward to your arrival, Wu Xingkai replied, his smile never wavering. With you leading the Discipline Inspection Commission, I'm confident our work will reach new heights. Secretary Ma, the provincial committee really sent us a powerhouse. The man he addressed, Ma Shuli, was the executive deputy secretary of the Provincial Commission for Discipline Inspection. He had personally escorted Guan Mushin to his new post. But he wasn't the only heavy hitter. Another man stepped out right behind Guan Mushin. Minister Jiang. Wu Xingkai greeted him immediately. Secretary Wu, I'm here on behalf of the Provincial Organization Department to see Comrade Mushin into his new role, Jiang Hanyang said. He was the executive deputy director of the Provincial Organization Department. We trust the Lingyun Municipal Committee will support him. Wu Xingkai nodded vigorously. Please tell the Provincial Committee to rest easy. We will fully cooperate with Comrade Mushin. Strengthening our cadre's ideals depends on two things: their own self-cultivation and the supervision of the Discipline Inspection Commission. On the surface, Wu Xingkai was all smiles. Inside, his heart felt heavy. Usually, a new city-level official wouldn't warrant this kind of escort. Having both the Executive Deputy Secretary of the Provincial Discipline Commission and the Executive Deputy Director of the Organization Department show up was a massive statement. It meant the provincial leaders were dissatisfied with Lingyun City. They were watching. Secretary Ma, Minister Jiang, the auditorium is ready. Mayor Ho Yong cut in smoothly. Let's head inside. Right, we can't let our new secretary freeze in the cold, added Wei Liming, the deputy secretary. At 1 p.m., the grand auditorium was packed. Every official in the city above the rank of section chief was there. I sat among the crowd, watching the power players on stage. Jiang Hongyang stood up and read the official appointment. Guan Mushin was officially the new secretary of the Lingyun Municipal Discipline Inspection Commission. The previous secretary, Lu Zhong, had resigned due to a malignant tumor, so there was no mention of him being reassigned to another post. He was out. Guan Mushin was in. Speeches followed. Wu Xingkai pledged his support. Ma Shuli emphasized that Lingyun's commission must follow the province's lead. Finally, Guan Mushin took the podium. The provincial committee has trusted me with this role, he said, his voice echoing with power. Many of you don't know me yet, but I look forward to working with you. I will be strict. I will follow the party's policies to the letter. My goal is a clean government. The applause was thunderous and lasted a long time. After a quick welcome banquet, the provincial leaders headed back to the capital. By 3 p.m., Guan Mushin wasn't resting. He called an immediate meeting of the entire Discipline Inspection Commission in their headquarters. He spent the first part of the meeting reiterating the provincial directives. Then, just as things seemed to be wrapping up, he turned his gaze towards Su Yunkai, the deputy secretary of the commission. Comrade Yunkai, Guan Mushin said casually, I heard the commission has been investigating the secretary-general of the municipal government, In Taijun. How is that going? The room went dead silent. Every official there felt a chill. Su Yunkai's heart sank. He felt a surge of nerves, but he kept his face neutral. Yes, Secretary Guan. The case has caused a lot of public outcry. It's been a bad influence on the city's image. However, the investigation is going smoothly. We should be finished in a day or two and ready to hand him over to the judicial authorities. Guan Mushin nodded slowly. I'm new here, and I don't know everyone yet. But I brought specific requirements from the provincial commission. There are serious issues with discipline among some of our cadres. I have a list here of 20 officials above the section chief level who need looking into. He paused, letting the weight of that number sink in. Since I'm the new secretary, I need to ensure the air in Lingyun City is clean. So, let's do this. We will merge the In Taijun case into a larger, citywide investigation task force. We'll look at the conduct of all these officials together. We won't wrong a good comrade, but we won't tolerate a corrupt one either. He looked around the room, his eyes sharp. Don't misunderstand. It's not that I don't trust your previous work. It's just that the provincial commission has demands, and we cannot ignore them. His words hit the room like a sledgehammer. No one knew exactly what Guan Mushin was playing at, but one thing was clear. He was taking control of the In Taijun case. As the top official with the backing of the province, nobody dared to breathe a word of protest. Even Wei Chonghu, the powerful first deputy secretary, kept his mouth shut. The game in Lingyun City had just changed. The room fell into a heavy silence after Guan Mushin's declaration. Su Yunkai was the first to break. He looked panicked, his composure crumbling as he leaned forward. He argued that the In Taijun case was practically closed and there was no need for a new task force. Guan Mushin didn't even let him finish. He waved a hand dismissively, stating that since In Taijun was a high-level official, they owed the municipal government a proper explanation. Su Yunkai slumped back into his seat, his face pale. He was clearly terrified. Wei Chonghu, the first deputy secretary, spoke up next. He asked about the composition of this new investigation team. Guan Mushin was ready. He wanted 70% of the staff from the Commission for Discipline Inspection, with the rest drawn from the municipal office, the police, and the courts. He pulled a sheet of paper from his folder, a list of specific names he wanted seconded to the team. The paper passed from Wei Chonghu to Su Yunkai. When Su reached the bottom of the list, his eyes narrowed. He froze. There, among the names from the municipal office, was mine, Dong. He shot a look at Guan Mushin, but the new secretary just sat there with a calm, almost faint smile. Su's heart must have hit his shoes. But while they were moving chess pieces in that meeting, I was already focused on a different kind of game. An hour earlier, I was on the phone with my old college friend, Chuli. When I told him I wanted to play the stock market, he nearly screamed through the receiver. The global economic crisis was in full swing. People were losing everything, and here I was, wanting to jump into the fire. He asked if I'd turned corrupt and was trying to wash dirty money. I had to laugh. I wasn't even a deputy section chief yet. Who would I even take a bribe from? Chuli worked at the Shenzhen Stock Exchange. He saw the carnage every day. He described the market as a place where you ride in a luxury car in the morning and jump off a roof by noon. He didn't understand why I was being so reckless. I couldn't tell him I was a rebirth, that I already knew how the charts would move. I just asked him if he trusted me. We were roommates, and I was his class monitor. He knew I was usually the most stable guy in the room. He sighed and gave in. He asked what I wanted to buy. I told him, Yen. I had 30,000 yuan and wanted to get it up to 50,000. Chuli didn't just agree to help. He offered to lend me another 50,000 of his own. He told me if we lost, it was bad luck, but if we won, I just had to pay him back the principal. He was a true brother. In my past life, I had been a nobody, but he never looked down on me. I knew exactly what Yen was worth. At less than 5 yuan a share, the profit margin was going to be 20 times the investment. 100,000 yuan would turn into 2 million. In 2008, 2 million yuan was a fortune. After hanging up, I took a taxi to the bank. I needed to call home. My parents were farmers back in the village and didn't have cell phones, so I dialed the landline. When my mother, Du Yuxiang, answered, my eyes stung. To her, we'd spoken recently. To me, it had been a lifetime. In my previous life, she died of lung cancer before I even hit 40. Hearing her voice, nagging me about saving money and asking when I was marrying Han felt like a warm blanket. I took a deep breath and told her the truth. Han and I were over. She started to blow up, but I cut her off. I told her I needed 2,000 yuan urgently and promised to pay it back within a year. She didn't even ask what it was for. She just said she'd send my dad to town to wire the money immediately. She trusted me completely. We talked for a bit about my younger siblings' upcoming exams before she started circling back to Han again. I hung up before she could get going. I couldn't stand hearing that name anymore. But the universe has a sick sense of humor. As I walked toward the bank entrance, there she was. Han was draped in a thick mink coat, looking every bit the wealthy socialite she aspired to be. Her face soured the moment she saw me. Ever since the incident at the KTV, where I'd saved Guan Jiujio and embarrassed her fiancé, Lin Yaodong, she had been seething. I tried to brush past her, but she shouted my name, drawing stares from everyone on the street. I turned around, annoyed. She looked at me with a mix of arrogance and pity. She told me she knew why I was there. She said she knew I still had feelings for her, and that I was still in love with her. It's over between us, Dong, Han said, her voice dripping with condescension. You need to know when to quit. Look at this gold necklace Yaodong bought me yesterday. It cost over 10,000 yuan. You couldn't afford something like this if you worked your entire life. I stared at her, feeling a wave of exhaustion. We had been together for 5 years, but looking at her now, I didn't recognize the woman I once loved. Stop chasing me, she continued, her face twisted in a mix of pity and annoyance. I know why you're here at the bank. You found out I was coming to withdraw money today and decided to corner me. Please, Dong, be a man. Don't be a sore loser. She actually thought I was stalking her. In my previous life, I might have been a licking dog, a guy who obsessed over a girl who didn't want him, but that version of me was dead. I opened my mouth to set her straight, but she cut me off with a wave of her hand. I don't want to hear your pathetic excuses, she snapped. I heard you were suspended from work. You were so stupid to stand up for Guan Jiujio last night. Even Yaodong, with all his family's power, didn't dare move. Who do you think you are? Now you're suspended, and your career at the municipal office is basically over. She sighed, looking at me like I was a lost cause. I felt a surge of irritation. Are you sick? I asked, shaking my head. There's something wrong with your head. I didn't have the energy to argue with a woman like her. I turned to walk toward the bank, but her cold laughter followed me. Your pathetic pride is showing, Yang Dong. You're just angry because I called you out. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. It was Li Chun, a colleague from the office. I answered, and his voice was practically exploding with excitement. Yang Dong, you won't believe it. A secondment order just came in from the Municipal Commission for Discipline Inspection. They want you to report to them immediately. I froze. The Commission for Discipline Inspection? That was the most feared department in the city. Why would they want a low-level clerk like me? Han Won was eavesdropping, her mouth hanging open in shock. The commission? You? Don't lie, Yang Dong. Is this some pathetic trick to get me back? It's fake. It has to be fake. I didn't even look at her. I turned around, sprinted to the curb, and hailed a taxi. I left her standing there on the sidewalk, mid-sentence, as I sped away toward my new future. Meanwhile, back at the municipal office, the atmosphere was suffocating. Lin Yaodong sat across from Tian Guanghan, the Deputy Secretary General. Tian's face was a sickly shade of green. He looked like he had just been forced to swallow a fly. Earlier that day, Tian had suspended me to please his business cronies. But before the afternoon was even over, the Commission for Discipline Inspection had sent a formal letter demanding my transfer. They wanted me in their office by 6 o'clock that evening. Tian Guanghan was furious. It was a slap in the face. He held the power in the municipal office while the main boss was away, but the commission was different. Nobody dared to mess with them, especially not a man like Tian, who had plenty of skeletons in his closet. To make matters worse, a new city discipline secretary, Guan Mushin, had just arrived. He was backed by heavy hitters from the provincial level. Refusing this request would be like picking a fight with a giant. Secretary General Lin Yaodong muttered, his voice trembling with spite. Are we really just going to let him go? This is a disgrace. Tian Guanghan took a slow sip from his thermos, his expression smoothing out into a fake, calculated smile. Shaolin, you have to look at the big picture. The road is winding, but the future is bright. Don't get hung up on one small loss. Lin Yaodong immediately changed his tune, nodding like a bobblehead. You're right. Your vision and status are far beyond mine. I can't even compete. Tian laughed, but the sound was cut short by a knock on the door. Lin Yaodong stood up and opened it. His smile vanished instantly when he saw me standing there. He recovered quickly, though. Group leader Yang. Come in, come in. He was acting like we were best friends. I knew exactly what kind of man Lin Yaodong was. No morals, no bottom line, and zero talent beyond sucking up to the right people. He clearly knew about my transfer. I ignored his outstretched hand and walked straight to Tian Guanghan's desk. I'm here for my transfer papers, I said. I didn't bother with pleasantries. We weren't the same kind of people. In my last life, this old man had stabbed me in the back more than once. I hadn't forgotten a single thing. If they weren't going to treat me like a human being, I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of a smile. Comrade Yang Dong, congratulations. Tian Guanghan squinted at me, his face glowing with a warm, fake enthusiasm. He actually stood up from behind his desk and patted me on the shoulder like we were the best of friends. A secondment letter from the Municipal Discipline Inspection Commission. You've really brought honor to the municipal government office. In all my years in Lingyun City, I've never seen them pull someone from our department. You've broken the mold. I looked at him, feeling absolutely nothing. This was the same man who had suspended me just a few hours ago. In the world of politics, men like Tian Guanghan have a dozen different faces. They switch them out depending on who they're talking to and what power that person holds. Remember, Yang Dong, he continued, his voice dripping with false sincerity. The government office is your home. We're practically family. Now that you're heading over to the commission, make sure you look out for your old colleagues, all right? He wasn't afraid of me. He was afraid of the commission. By joining them, I suddenly held a tiny sliver of power that could actually threaten him. I had to hand it to the old man. He knew when to bow and when to scrape. I'll remember that, I said, my voice cold. I didn't return his smile. Thank you for the advice, Deputy Secretary General. If that's all, I'll be going. Wait, why the rush? Tian called out, trying to play the part of the gracious mentor one last time. You're still part of this office. I stopped and looked back at him with a mocking grin. Deputy Secretary General, I'm currently under suspension for reflection. Staying here would be a bad look. People might think I don't respect your leadership decisions. It's better if I leave. I turned on my heel and walked out. I didn't look at Lin Yaodong once. To me, he was just air. Behind me, I heard the door thud shut. I knew exactly what was happening inside. Lin Yaodong would be fuming, whispering poison into Tian's ear. Secretary General, that Yang Dong is too arrogant. Lin probably spat. He doesn't respect you at all. It's just a temporary secondment. Once his time is up, he has to come back here. You should crush him then. I could almost hear Tian's calm, dismissive reply. Shaolin, don't be so narrow-minded. You have to learn to be magnanimous. I stepped out of the government building and into the fresh air. I stared at the small piece of paper in my hand. It was just a few lines of text with a red official stamp from the Discipline Inspection Commission, but it was my golden ticket. Still, I was confused. Who had arranged this? Was it because of that phone call I made? I thought about the cold, arrogant woman who had answered the phone. She had seemed so high and mighty, yet here I was, moved like a chess piece by an invisible hand. I shook the thoughts away. My goal was clear. I needed to get close to Secretary General In Taijun. Usually, leaders save their subordinates. In my case, I was a subordinate trying to save my leader. I took a bus to the commission's headquarters. At the gate, a security guard in a black uniform blocked my path. He stood with his hands behind his back, chest puffed out, looking like he owned the entire city. I didn't say a word. I just handed him my secondment letter. His entire demeanor shifted instantly. The arrogance vanished, replaced by a subservient hunch and a wide, desperate smile. Welcome, leader. Please, come right in. I snatched the paper back and walked past him. It's a sad truth. The people who have the least power are often the ones who enjoy abusing it the most against those they think are below them. But the moment they see an official badge, they fold like paper. Inside the building, I found the office floor and saw a young man standing in the hallway. Excuse me, I said politely. Where do I report for the secondment? The young man straightened up and looked at me with curiosity. Are you here for the investigation task force too? My heart skipped a beat. The task force? In my past life, I remembered the commission forming a special task force that had eventually taken down nearly 20 high-level officials. It had been a political earthquake in Lingyun City. Back then, I was stuck in a dead-end job in a rural office, watching the news from the sidelines. The butterfly effect was real. My phone call, or perhaps some other small change I'd made, had landed me right in the middle of the storm. This was my chance to intervene in In Taijun's case. I smiled at the young man. Yes, I just got my papers today. Great. He grinned and held out his hand. I'm Luo Jin, from the Municipal Party Committee Office. I shook his hand. Yangdong, Municipal Government Office. Luo Jin's eyes widened. Yangdong? I've heard of you. I wasn't surprised. News of the fight at the restaurant and me saving the beauty had probably spread through every department in the city by now. It involved powerful officials, wealthy investors, and a dramatic confrontation, the perfect office gossip. I could see the gears turning in Luo Jin's head. He was wondering how a guy who had offended half the city's leadership had managed to get a prestigious spot on a task force. He clearly decided I must have some powerful secret backing, because his smile got even wider and his handshake a lot firmer.